What's up, y'all? Jared Sandler here with our daily Rangers update. As I mentioned yesterday, going to start doing these pregame. If there's anything super significant from the game that needs to be discussed postgame, I'll churn out another video. But we'll discuss some of the goings-on involving the Rangers, maybe something specific to the game ahead, the matchup, the opponent, just news and notes. Also talk a little Major League Baseball. I love baseball. Give me an opportunity to talk baseball at large. But let's start with the Rangers and the Angels tonight. Last night, the Rangers lost. They scored 4 runs in the first inning, but then nothing after. And the team's home woes offensively continued. Nothing to dispel that despite the nice start with the 4-run first inning against Shohei Ohtani. Well, tonight they're facing Jose Quintana. Quintana pitched against the Rangers, a game that was also started by Mike Foltynewicz, so the same pitching matchup in the finale of the 3-game series in Anaheim. The Rangers won that 7-4, but they didn't win it because they did a lot of damage off of Quintana. Quintana allowed a run on 2 hits over 5 innings. The Rangers did work him. He walked 4 guys, but the Rangers really have not hit lefties particularly well this year. Against righties, their OPS is over 700, about 710. That's nothing special, just in and of itself. But against lefties, the team's OPS is barely over 600. That is just perspective. If you're rolling with an OPS just barely over 600, not only are you not an everyday player, you might not even be a big league rostered player. So that's how poorly the Rangers have fared against lefties so far this year. Is it small sample or a trend? Obviously, we'll figure that out. But one of the things Chris Woodward mentioned is that when you face some of these rotations or teams that maybe they've got an off day, maybe they've got the ability to manipulate their rotation to some degree, especially as you get deeper into the season and games become maybe a little more significant or there's a little more urgency, you're going to start seeing a lot more lefties. I mean, the Rangers in 2015, that was a really good team, but they were not so great against lefties. And we saw teams right around the All-Star break and beyond kind of manipulate their rotation. So if they had 2 lefties who had some sort of a chance to pitch in the series, those guys were going to pitch because it was a favorable matchup for them, not a favorable matchup for the Rangers. So it'll be interesting to see how the Rangers fare. Now, there's not just one guy who's the problem here, but one guy specific to lefties who I think needs to step up his performance just for his own sake in his future is Eli White. Now, again, Eli White is not the key to unlock the Rangers' success against lefties, but he's a right-handed hitting outfielder who right now is the 4th outfielder on this team, and he's hitting .056 against lefties this year. And if you include his 2020, which wasn't a large sample size, but this is all we have in his career, he's hitting .051 against lefties with nary an extra base hit. And the reason I bring this up is Eli's starting tonight, and he didn't get sent down. Leote got sent down because Leote's the guy who is viewed as someone who has got a higher ceiling future. Eli White is 27 years old in June. So he's 26, turning 27. I think that the way the Rangers have treated Eli, their willingness to just let him, sit on the bench and not get consistent at bats is an indication that if he shows that he can be an everyday outfielder, great, but the Rangers are kind of the mindset, hey, this guy might be a 4th outfielder. But if he's going to be a 4th outfielder, he's got to show that he can hit lefties as a right-handed hitter. That could be a role for him, a guy who starts almost always against lefties. But if he can't hit lefties, then, where's the role? Then at that point, he's nothing more than a defensive replacement or a guy off the bench who can run. And there are a lot of guys out there who could fill that role, but possibly hit better than Eli White. So that's something to follow if you're a fan of Eli and want him to succeed at the big league level. Speaking of left-handed hitters, Joey Gallo never really had a problem hitting lefties. His 1 home run this year, 1 extra base hit against a lefty. So far this year against lefties, Joey's hitting .250. He's actually hitting better against lefties than righties, both from an average, on base, and slugging standpoint. One thing with Joey, we have hailed his patience in the walks. He's walked 22 times in 22 games. He's gotten on base every single game. That's why his on base percentage is .436. I wonder, though, if temporarily to snap out of this stretch in which he's just not hitting the ball hard, if you'll see Joey more aggressive early on in at bats. I think Joey's just of the mindset, hey, I'm not getting pitches to hit. And so I'm going to go up there and I'm going to be patient. I'm going to make them come to me. And, he's swinging at first pitches right around 24% of the time. That's the lowest of his career. I wonder if Joey starts hunting early. Now, he's got to get pitches to hit, right? And what you don't want is for Joey to go up with the mindset of, I'm going to start swinging early. And now you're getting curveballs in the dirt, sliders in the dirt, fastballs not in your wheelhouse. And instead of getting ahead 1-0 and increasing your chances to succeed, you're behind 0-1 when, it's unnecessary that was the case. So, it's a balance, but that is something I imagine the Rangers might tell Joey to attempt just to try and get out of this. All right. Something just from a baseball standpoint, trivia, and I'm going to share the answer to this trivia at the very end of this video. I heard this on the Starkville podcast. Jason Stark, Doug Glanville, part of the Athletic Podcast Network. So credit to them. Jason always with tremendous trivia questions. I think this was actually a guest contributor who provided the question, but it was on that podcast nonetheless. There are two pairs of father-son combos who were each drafted among the top 10 picks in their respective draft and each made it to the major leagues. So we're looking for 4 total individuals, 2 pairs of father-sons. All 4 were drafted among the top 10 picks in their respective draft. All 4 made the majors. There are only 2 father-son combos for whom this applies. I'll give you the answer at the very end. All right, Shohei Ohtani yesterday pitched and hit, and talking to people with the Rangers who finally got a chance to see it up close in person were astonished. I mean, words, unbelievable, amazed, couldn't believe it, fascinating, breathtaking. Those are the things that I've heard in the last 24 hours from coaches, players, front office folks, including Chris Woodward, who said it was just unbelievable watching him do what he did. And it's clear that while, when Shohei Ohtani is facing your team, you don't want him to succeed. It just seems like everyone around the league is rooting for this kid to make a big impact on the sport, rooting for him to succeed as a two-way player. I am still not incredibly confident that he will be able to stay healthy enough and withstand the physical demands of hitting and pitching, not for a 1-month stretch, not for a 3-month stretch, but for a 3 to 4 to 5 year stretch. And the reason that's significant is when he becomes a free agent and a team pays him a boatload of money, he'll get a boatload of money because either as a pitcher individually or as a hitter individually, he is worth a boatload of money. Is that team going to pay him all that money to do both? And I'm sure that there will be a team perhaps who will, as long as he has shown between now and then that he can sustain health and sustain success as both. And I'm certainly rooting for that. I'm not skeptical, like, I just don't think it's good enough. I just don't know. We have not seen it yet. But watching yesterday, you know exactly why the Angels were giving him every opportunity to show that. Because after that first inning, he was untouchable. You watch him run around the bases. He flies like Byron Buxton. He hits the ball like Giancarlo Stanton. And he throws the ball with the type of force as some of the best fireballers in Major League Baseball. It is really, really impressive. All right, one thing here, just from a baseball standpoint in general, the Pioneer League, this used to be an affiliated minor league and short season. I actually got my broadcasting start with the Great Falls Voyagers of the Pioneer League. It's now, I forget what the classification is, but now a league, it's an independent but affiliated league with Major League Baseball. They're going to use this as one of a few leagues in which they can attempt rules and whatnot. They are going to add a home run derby to break ties at the end of regulation. I don't like this. I think the home run derby is entertaining, but I don't like this for deciding a game. Just like I don't particularly love a shootout in soccer or hockey deciding a game. You take a very, very small part of the game and use it, and really not a practical part of the game, and use it to determine the winner and a loser after a hard-fought game. In hockey, how often does a guy have an unimpeded stretch where it's just he and the goalie? Very rarely, maybe once every 3 games, you'll see that. But it was created because of a strong play, in their zone or whatever the case is. And soccer, same thing. Very, never do you see a goalie and a position player one-on-one with no impediment around him. In baseball, when does a guy ever get a batting practice pitch? Never. Plus, you're also putting this on the coaches, because you hear a lot of people in baseball talk about home run derbies. They say, yeah, the player has something to do with it, but sometimes home run derbies are won and lost on the mound, the quality of the batting practice pitcher. I'm totally cool with these leagues trying things that could ultimately make its way to Major League Baseball. But I also worry that we are tilting the scales, or on the verge of tilting the scales too extremely to the other side. Baseball's got issues. All right, baseball has issues, and they need to be fixed. For the health and the longevity of this game, they need to be fixed. But I get the sense that people are looking at baseball as this big problem, this burden. Joe Sheehan tweeted something along the lines of, we got to stop trying to shorten the baseball game just for the sake of shortening it. Like it's some issue that we're sitting here watching baseball and taking in a baseball game. There are aspects of the game that need to be improved. We need more contact. We need more action. But we don't need to shorten the game at all costs. And we don't need to trick up the game. So now we go from a game that's, got issues on this side of the fence to now a game that's got issues not on the equivalent side, but even further on the other side of the fence. So I don't love the idea of the home run derby unless they're looking at it strictly for just an entertainment value standpoint. But to take this seriously at all as a possible measure to be utilized by Major League Baseball would be foolish. And I hope that the rules and the development and the changes of the game are with the intention of improving the game, not making the game less of a burden, because it shouldn't be viewed through that lens. All right, that's all for today, y'all. Talk to y'all later. Have a great day.